Hello, welcome back to Bald and Board Games. I'm Bald.
I'm bored.
And today we're doing a how to play, and we're teaching you how to play Distilled by Paverson Games.
That's right. We're teaching you how to make alcohol.
How to distill spirits.
And how not to make alcohol.
And we have to thank our friends over at Level Up Board Game Podcast. They sold us this game, the deluxeified edition with all the fun pieces and parts and expansions and the shot glass, which Steve has back at home. So thank you, gentlemen. We'll be seeing you on the stream in a moment. But first, before we dive into how to play, there's a little bit of flavor text here so you know why we're doing what we're doing, other than the fact that we want to have fun. You have inherited an abandoned distillery from a distant relative. You are now tasked with bringing your family's business back to its former glory. Over the course of 7 rounds, you will acquire ingredients, items, recipes, and upgrades to create the world's most renowned spirits. Whoever has the most spirit points at the end of the game earns the title Master Distiller. All right, so how do we set up the game? How do we set up our distillery?
So there's 2 parts to this game, similar to most games. You got your player boards and your main board. So here in the center, you can see all the components of the main board. We're going to zoom in on a few of them and give you piece by piece. First, you have your scoring center. So as you can see here, you have 1 through 10, all the way up to 50. You'll then have a little token here where if you get more than 50 or more than 100,
I knew it was going to happen.
then you can continue adding points. You have your round tracker on the right-hand side, and at the very top, you have little tokens that are the different alcohols that you're going to be distilling and creating in your warehouse or in your storeroom. You'll gather those as you go through the rounds and create those liquors, and we'll talk about more how those work in a little bit. You also have different goals that you can achieve. Only one player can achieve them, or you could tie. So if one player achieves it on turn 1, then it's just gone. But if 2 players both achieve it on turn 1, then we split the points, or we both get the points.
Yeah, there's specific. It's at the end of the phase, which we'll go over when that does happen.
Yes.
The liquor at the top, the way you determine what you put up there is based on the cards you pull, which we'll show you in a moment. You will always have vodka and moonshine, and it'll always be 2 more than the number of players you are playing with. And then the rest of them, you will choose 1 tile per person that's playing. And then for those objectives that Steve just mentioned, you will randomly choose 1 more than the number of people that are playing.
Yes, that's why we have 3 out there. Everything else is your different markets. So you have your basic market along the left-hand side. Those are all things that
they can't see.
Yeah, right here. On the left-hand side.
Oh, they're talking about these here?
No, I haven't gotten that one. Basic market along the left-hand side. Those are things that you can buy 2 of each turn or each phase. Some are free, some have a cost, which are identified in the bottom right corner with the little flag. And then we have, not us, we don't want to look at us. Then we have our premium market. The premium market includes 3 things. You have items, ingredients, and upgrades. At the beginning of the game, you'll have those 3 decks, you'll shuffle them up, and then you will deal out 4 cards face up in front of that row.
There you go. Parkinson's hands return.
Once you've dealt the 4 cards for each of those,
it's time for a shakedown.
That is your initial market. Every turn, things will happen as we discuss the round actions, where those cards will either get refreshed or you can buy those cards. You also have 2 additional decks here. One is alcohol cards, which we'll explain in the round order, and then you have flavor cards, which comes into play when you are aging liquors in your warehouse. And then the last things here, we have coins, 1s, 5s, and 10s, and gold, silver, and bronze.
You want to show us?
Yeah. Gold, silver, and bronze little squares or cubes that'll come into play as well. But we'll zoom in, Nick, to talk about the player board.
All right. So once you have that all set up at the top of the board, you are going to be dealt 2 random character cards, and then you will choose 1 to be. And for us, the choice is really based on the ability that comes, or not ability, the recipe that comes in the backside here. So it'll tell you what starting coin you should start with. So I'll end up needing 5 coin. If you could give those to me, please. Thank you, sir. And it tells you a recipe that you start with. So my guy says that I start with yeast. So I'm going to put that in my pantry. You also get sorry, an ingredient. You also get a special ingredient that's not unlocked right now. There is a way to unlock this, which we will go over in a moment, but you take this, just put it below your character card. That way it's not in your pantry with the rest of your ingredients. You don't accidentally use that. And there is a recipe on the bottom of this card, which is what I was mentioning earlier. And that is your special recipe. And you have a little token over here as well that tells you what it is. So all these recipes are laid out in the same fashion as the ones on the board here. I'll go over in a minute. But it tells you how much yeast you'll need or whatever ingredient it is. And then it says must include your special ingredient, and then if it needs to be aged or not, as well as what points you get, called spirit points, and how much money it'll give you for creating. So that's over to the side. That cannot be made until you unlock your special ingredient and go through obviously the process to distill that spirit. Down here we have some starting items. So these items, you have a glass bottle and a metal barrel. Everyone starts out with the same glass bottle and metal barrel, and these are never discarded like other items are or could be when you distill. So once you use these, they'll just go right back to your storeroom, and the storeroom is where you'll keep all items that you buy during the game. Here you have 3 open spots where you will place any distillery upgrades during the game. If you ever fill this up with 3 and you buy a new one, you will have to choose 1 to replace and 1 to discard. Then lastly on your board down here, you have your aging section. So when you do create your spirit, you will place it down here, and we'll just use this special little recipe token for now. You'll place your spirits there with the barrel on top face up with your token on top while it's aging. And we'll go over what that means when we get to the aging part of that player phase. Just know that when you do that, it's going to go there. That's what those 2 spots are for. And over here, we have our clipboard. So this has a card, which is double-sided. Randomly choose one of these recipe cards at the start of the game. Everyone gets a copy of the same recipe card that will get placed here with recipes you have to unlock to be able to make. So we'll go into now what these little icons mean. Very easy. So the top where this one says any for vodka, and it has the wheat, the plant sugar, or the fruit sugar. That means that it can have any of those when distilled, and it can become vodka. And below that, you'll have your barrel icon, which will be metal, clay, or wood. And that tells you what kind of barrel it has to be made in. So, of course, we start off with a metal barrel, but there are wooden barrels you can buy, and then there are clay ones in the deck as well, all denoted by a specific symbol. Next to that barrel, you have a hourglass icon. If the hourglass icon has a red circle and slash through it, that means that the spirit is not aged when it's made. It has to be sold right away in the following phase once you make it. If it has the hourglass icon, that means that it has to be aged for at least 1 round before you can sell it. To be able to unlock these down here, that is part of your market action. You can buy these cubes shown up here, so 2, 4, or 6 to get a bronze, silver, or gold. Can you hand me just any cube? When you pay for your cube, so here I have a gold, so I would have paid 6 to unlock it. You're going to put that in the corresponding or one of the corresponding sections. So here the brandy needs a gold cube. This symbolizes you learning how to distill that spirit. You cannot make that spirit until you have learned how to distill it. So you have to buy that cube first, and then you can go ahead and make that going forward. Lastly, on these cards, there are 2 more or 3 more symbols. So one, of course, you have the coinage that you'll get when you make the spirit. You have your spirit points. So here, the 2 means you move up 2 on that thing at the very top. And then you have a region icon above your cube next to the title, which will come into play for scoring those objectives or your personal distillery goals down here, which everyone gets 3 of at the start of the game. And then after round 3, you will choose 1 to remove. And at the end of the game, you will score these based on what they say. At the top here on our board, back over here, we do have some unlockables. And Steve, how do you unlock those?
So that is back into play with the little icons here. So let's just say, for example, I was able to distill aquavit. What would happen is I bring it back here. During the sell phase, I would sell that. I would gain some coins, possibly some spirit points as well. And then I get this little token, as long as there's tokens available for the liquor that I distilled. And then I can choose one of the 7 things to unlock. So we have a few things here. One is a free upgrade, a free ingredient, or a free item. Those are these 3 rows here. So out of the 4 on each row that you see, if you unlock the free ingredient, you can choose one of these and so on for the other 2. You have one, which is a free recipe cube. Those are those cubes Nick was talking about. You can literally just redeem one for free, and now you have learned that recipe. Mm-hmm. You have discard 1 card from your pantry and take a card from the truck. Your pantry is the group of ingredients sitting down here, and the truck is right here, which includes all 3 of these. You can take something that's been discarded, remove an ingredient from your pantry, and redeem that one. And then the final 2, one is just either 5 silver or 5 coins. The other one is to move that secret ingredient that you need to do that special recipe into your pantry. Your other option across all of these is if you don't need certain items, let's say you don't need any ingredients, you can just take 2 spirit points. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at the board and you're like, ooh, I'm just behind, I really don't need to unlock that ingredient, I have what I need, you can take those 2 spirit points and try to move ahead.
All right. Well, let's go through the phases here. So we have a handy little sequence round play card here. And on the back side of this card, it also has icon references and scoring references. So we have a sequence of play here. So starting off, when you go start the game, after you get everything set up, you do have to determine who's going to be first player. So do that however you wish to determine it. This deluxe version comes with a nice hefty gold first player token. I think the regular base version just has a little cardboard punch out, which is just fine. So you'll give that to whoever the first player is. After each round, that will rotate clockwise around the table, 1 person. So of course, with 2 people, it's just going to go back and forth the entire time. But so at the start of the round, you'll perform any start of round actions. So on the upgrade cards, you will find the little power symbol. So it's a green power symbol like you would see on any electronic device, like VCR if you're that old. If it has that,
VCR?
Yeah, he has Alzheimer's. He's not that young. If it has that power symbol, it's at this point that you will do the action listed on there. That could be anything from taking a coin to taking a free ingredient to swapping stuff out, whatever it might be. You have to read the cards. It'll tell you.
Your individuals as well that you have might also have those same symbols. So, for example, my person right now is add a basic water or yeast to my pantry. So at the beginning of every turn, I get pretty much a free ingredient, but it can only be water or yeast.
And I have one as well. Mine says you may reveal 2 cards from the market deck and buy up to 1 of them. Return the cards not bought to the bottom of the deck. So that's handy. I get to do that right before the market phase even starts.
Yes.
So that's great if I'm not going first. So next up is the market phase. Go for it.
So market phase is what you see dead center of the screen here. That's the premium market again. You do have that basic market off to the left-hand side up here. But what'll happen is you take any coins you may have. So in this case, I only start the game with 2 coins, which is kind of disappointing. You go through, you look at what the cost is of each of these ingredients or items or upgrades. So in this case, we have a 6, 3, 3, 2, and so on. It's that little price tag in the bottom corner. So you can decide to buy things from the premium market, or again, you can go through the basic market. The benefit to the basic market is the first 3 ingredients, your yeast, your water, and your grain, are free. But there's a caveat. You can't just unlimitedly buy all of those. Mm-hmm. You can only buy 2 of them. And it has to go back and forth. So if I decide to buy a water, I would take the water card. There is a little effect on it, so pay attention to the effect. I would add that to my pantry. It would then go to Nick. He would do his action for the market phase. It would then come back to me. Let's say I make my second one, which is to get the grains here. It goes to Nick. It comes back to me. I would then pass if I have no more coins. Once both players or all players who are playing the game have passed, the market phase then concludes. And what happens at the end of that market phase?
So we'll say on my turn, I spent my coin to buy this potatoes, and I bought these jugs. So now at the end of the market phase, during the game, whenever you buy, things always shift down, and you'll automatically fill them right away. So the moment that you buy it, it'll shift down and fill in, so you could potentially buy the new thing that comes out. At the end of the market phase, though, in a 2-player game, the last 2 cards will get discarded, everything will shift, and 2 more would come out. You do that for every single row.
Yes, in a 3 or more player game, only the final card is removed. So you only lose 1 card per row. Whereas a 2-player game kind of keep things a little bit more interesting.
And
things are getting bought less.
Yeah, it's a cycle through the deck,
yes.
really. And then the discard piles are on this thing called the truck, which you may see referenced on cards. You can only buy from the truck if stated to do so. Now, when a card says to choose any card in the market, you can only choose a card that's face up here. You cannot go searching through the deck. So if it says to pick a card from the market, it has to be from here. If a card says to choose a card from the truck, you can search through those discard piles for whichever card that you want to choose. Nice. That is the end of the market phase.
Yeah, definitely remember to always do this cleanup first, because we dealt with our playthrough the other day. There are cards, as Nick just mentioned, that deal with the market. So you want to have the accurate layout available when you get to that stage to make sure you're playing it correctly.
Actually, I have one of these as well. Okay, so after that, you move on to the distill phase. And everyone does this at the same time. So you're going to take all the cards that you have in your pantry, or at least all the ones that you want, and you're going to distill something if you can. So for myself, I have a water, yeast, and plant sugar. So off the left side of our boards here, you have 3 spots. You have a yeast spot at the top, you have a water spot at the bottom, and your washback area in the middle. So you have to play at least 1 card in each area to distill. You can play multiple cards in the middle. So we have water, yeast, and at the moment, at the start of the game, I only have 1 plant base, but let's say that I did have 2, just to show you an example of this. Now, for all of your sugar cards, you're going to grab an alcohol card. They produce their alcohol. So now you're going to take all of these cards, put them in a stack. Going to shuffle your cards up. And this is where the push your luck mechanic comes in. You can put just enough cards into your distillery here off to the side, your washback area, to try and make the liquor of choice, but your chances of making it aren't very likely. So the more of those sugars you have, if you need 2 or more plant sugars, you probably want to have 3 or more potentially just to better your chances. But once that's shuffled, you're going to remove the top card and you're going to remove the bottom card. Those 2 cards you removed, are going to go back into your pantry. The cards that are left over will make your drink, your spirit. So if I was going for the aquavit, then I would make that. The aquavit requires either a grain or a plant sugar. More importantly, though, here I have 2 plants. So once this is revealed, if I have the rum recipe cube, I could put this into a wooden barrel if I have it to make rum, and you'd have to age it. So this is something important to note. You cannot make rum with this, or you cannot make a spirit with your ingredients if you don't have the proper barrel to either age it in or just to make it in. So I don't have a wooden barrel, so I can't do that. So I also don't have aquavit, so I can't do that either. So I have made vodka. So what you'll do now is you will choose your barrel. All right. And you're going to grab your little token here and be like, okay.
You always grab the token in turn order, because it's possible the tokens will run out, especially after round 3 or so. So turn order will come in very important, because if you don't have a token, you cannot take that extra token bonus on top of your board.
But you can still distill the spirit. So once you have that on there, if it's not aging, and once everyone's done so, the sell phase will come next. But we're going to hold off on that for a moment. What are you making? Are you making... You're making moonshine?
I am making moonshine. So for my example over here, I pulled out, actually, let's say I pulled out just these two ingredients. So I pulled out alcohol and water. And if you mix alcohol and water together, you get alcohol. So that equals moonshine. So same example that Nick had, I would take my barrel, I would place it down in front of me. I would then put on the moonshine token here. And then we would claim that the distill phase has concluded. I would then, because I'm distilling moonshine, take my glass bottle, add it on top of here, because now we've entered the sell phase. So for me, I only need to sell out of a glass bottle. There's no reason to use a specialty bottle for moonshine. So I just play it like that. But Nick will do something a little different.
So for the example, I have, where is it? I have rum unlocked. I have the recipe cube, and like I showed you beforehand, I have the cards needed to make rum, which was 2 or more plant sugars, and only plant sugars. Word of note, if you have any other kind of sugar in here, so if I had 2 plant sugars and I had a fruit or a grain sugar, so like this, I didn't make rum, because rum doesn't use grain. I instead would make either aquavit if I had that unlocked, or vodka again. You're going to make a lot of vodka.
Nothing wrong with that.
A lot of vodka. So you can have that back. So when you have your ingredients like I have here for rum, and you state, I'm going to make rum, you just put in the proper barrel, which rum needs a wooden barrel. So you're going to take all of your cards with your wooden barrel face up, and you're going to put that into your aging area. Because on the rum area, it has that little hourglass icon, which means it needs to be aged. So you're going to put it there, and you're going to put your rum token on top and saying, I'm going to be aging this. So we'll let that sit there for now, and we're going to move on to the sell phase. A word of note for the aging, it does have to age for 1 complete round before you can sell it.
But you could age for more than 1 round if you'd like to, and there's benefits to that, which we'll cover in the age step.
Yeah. So after you've distilled your liquor, your spirit, and you've chosen if you're aging it if you have to, or if it's one you're going to sell right away, you move on to the sell phase.
Yes. So for my example, since I made moonshine, I can sell it right away. So I take the little moonshine marker. I'm just going to put it off to the side. We'll put it right here. You then open up your cards. And again, you might have 4 cards. You might have 10. It all depends on what you decided to add in there. In this case, I have 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, all marked with 1 coin. Additionally, on my moonshine thing, there's a 2 coin. So I would take 6 coins. That's how much profit I made from selling the moonshine. I would also count up if any of the cards had victory points or spirit points. In this case, I had 1. So I would take my little icon, I would move it onto the board and put it with 1 spirit point. You would then look, and for example, my glass bottle and my metal barrel say, after selling, return to your storeroom. That would get returned. The additional 2 ingredients that I used, alcohol would just go into the alcohol pile, water would go into the water pile. Those ingredients are now gone. You cannot redeem an ingredient a second time unless it very specifically says so on the card. Mm-hmm. And I don't think any ingredient says that, just like barrels and things will say that.
And any of those premium ingredients from the center market area will go to their corresponding discard piles.
Yes. So now, once I've sold that, I've gotten my coins, I've gotten my spirit points, I can redeem the token. And this will happen again in turn order. So I would decide, what do I want to redeem as my first unlock? Let's just say, because I know that Nick has unlocked rum, I was like, I need to catch up. I'm going to take that free cube and I'm going to unlock brandy. I don't want to pay that 6 gold to unlock 6 coins to unlock a gold cube. So I'm going to use the free one to do that for me. That then concludes my sell phase. It would go to Nick. In his case, he's aging, so he does not complete a sell phase.
Correct.
Although there is a benefit at the end of the round that you can do if you do not complete a sell phase.
Yep.
But we're now moving on to the age phase, and we'll see what happens.
So during the age phase, only one thing happens at this point in time. Each age phase, any liquor that you have here that are aging are going to get a flavor card. You don't look at this flavor card unless you have a card that specifically, again, tells you to do so. All cards and their effects will override rules in the rule book. So the rule book, base rules are: do not look at these. You just take them face down and put them underneath the liquor that you're aging. And you can age more than one at a time, but up to two. And that's it for the age phase. Take that flavor, put it underneath, and just continue to let it sit.
Yep. So now we're going to zoom back out to the big board here. We've now completed round 1. We then have end of round steps. And it's really 3 main things. Number 1, the spirit awards that were up here. I clicked the right view. Nice. The spirit awards, we check to see if any have been completed. So, for example, some of these say, like, collect 3 spirits, 1 bronze, 1 silver, 1 gold. Or sell a spirit with 5 sugar cards. And then the top one says
25 coins at the end of the round.
So let's just say I was able to sell stuff. I have my 25 coins. I would then pick that up. I would read it off. I would show that I had 25 coins. I would then redeem 7 additional points. So I'd move up to the 8. The way Nick and I play is we'll just place this face down back where it was, just so it doesn't clutter up our play area, and we know that's been complete.
Yeah, you have the point board, so you don't really need to collect it to keep track of your points. If anything, it may just get confusing at the end of the game on whether or not you did collect that or not. So that's why at this point, figure out who got that, or if you tied, then you split the points.
Yes.
And I believe round it down.
And then let's say you happen to complete something that is listed on your distillery goals. Those distillery goal cards are kept secret until the end of game, not the end of round.
Yes.
So you just keep those off to the side. The second thing you'll do in the end of round phase will be someone like Nick. Because he didn't make a sell purchase, he can decide, hey, I want to do a tasting, where he can spend 4 coins, and he has 5 available.
Actually, it's not. It's spending 4 of your spirit points.
You can spend 4 spirit points to get 4 coins.
Exactly.
The benefit to that is you need to buy stuff because you didn't sell. So now you need to sell more. So that'll help you get some coinage to spend. You don't have to do that. It's completely optional.
Yep.
And then the last thing is move the player market to the next player. And then move the round tile down, and you start round 2. And you'll just continue in that same process over and over again until you finish 7 rounds. The only thing that's very important at the end of round 7, if you are, let's say in round 7, you decide to create a spirit that requires aging, you can still do that, but you will not be able to sell it because you did not wait that whole turn. You can place it down. You will get the spirit points associated. You just will not get any benefits on those cards, nor will you get the coinage associated.
And after you get down to round 7, and we mentioned after round 3, you do discard one of your distillery goals, just to reiterate as we're talking about the range. So as you go over, after you finish round 3, you're going to round 4. Everyone will get rid of one of their 3 distillery goal cards, which means at the end of the game, everyone should only have 2 distillery goal cards.
Yes.
So once you finish your 7th round, you go into the scoring phase, and there is a reference on your card on how to score everything. But just in order, so first you would score your spirits that are still in your warehouse. So your warehouse being the aged area. You will score bottle collections as well. So the bottles all have a region icon on them, much like all of the spirits. So when you use a special bottle that you bought from the item area, you don't return these to the discard pile. Another way to note this is in the bottom left-hand corner, instead of giving you spirit points right away, it has a little question mark because these are scored at the end of the game. So you just hold on to these off to the side after you've used them in your spirit making. So did you cover using your bottle when you made your spirits to sell it?
Yep.
Perfect. So for myself, say I was done aging this and it was my sell area, and I'm going to sell my aged liquor. That's where I have to use a bottle to sell it with. So we'll go over all the points on these in a moment as well once you finish the end game scoring. So you have your bottle collection for all the bottles you used. Then you have your distillery upgrades. So any upgrades you had here that had points in the bottom, they're all in the bottom left-hand corner of the cards, like you can see right there. Then you would add up your distillery goals, which are these here. So usually that's being tied with someone or having the most or least of something. And then you have your money. So your money, every 5 coin that you have is worth 1 spirit point. So if you have a big cachet at the end, then that could really push you up. And actually, the first game that we played, that's what made us tie exactly. Steve had no money. I was behind. I spent all my money, tied up with him, and then we ended up tying ultimately. So endgame scoring is spelled out for you on these cards. Very easy to do. But during the game, you do also get points, as Steve mentioned, with all of your cards that are in play for making your different beverages. So another thing that happens when you make a beverage, like I said, you hold on to some of these bottles off to the side. Most bottles you'll discard or you'll put back into your storeroom. Barrels are the same thing. Most barrels you will discard after using them, but some of them, like this sherry butt, says you're going to put this back into your storeroom. You can continue to use them. So during the game, you will be going to market to buy the ingredients to upgrade your distillery to make the best, most renowned spirits that you can. And you'll go through and sell them, collect your coin, collect your spirit points, and unlock new recipes as you go. In the end, you want to have the most spirit points. And whoever has the most spirit points is the master distiller.
Yes. And yeah, the cool thing about this game, to the point earlier, is since you have these cards here that are double-sided, and there's like 8 of them, so there's like 16 different options, it kind of changes every game. So you never are building the same liquors each time. Obviously, you have different decks that'll be shuffled and providing a unique experience there. So where Nick and I tied in our test game, somehow playing 2 very different strategies, but it always happens like this. The expectation is in today's video, we will have one winner.
If we do tie, one winner.
We will figure out
something
to somehow break the tie. Because we will not accept the tiebreaker in the book, which is you just share the victory. That's not a thing for us.
No. We'll have one more round.
Yeah.
But any other questions that we may have missed, if there's any rules that we missed or that are unclear, just refer to the rule book. It's a very quick read, very easy read. The rule book is one of the best that I've seen. It also gives you little tidbits of information on the actual distilling process that influence the game, which is really fun. Loads of variety for this game. Loads of strategy. I almost said strategery in this game. So please go check out our playthrough, which you should see in a couple hours after this one had gone up. And if you want to see us play this live and interact with us while we play and make mistakes and yell at each other, join us on Twitch on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, occasionally Fridays. But to know exactly what day, you have to join us and follow us on Instagram as well. All of it's Bald and Board Games. So hope to see you there. This was Bald and Board Games, teaching you how to play Distilled by Paverson Games. I'm Bald.
I'm Bored.
We'll see you at the table.